Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I could see my notes.
I should show you some of the edits.
There we go. Notes.
Before.
I mean, I don't want to see an edit. I want this shit out there.
It is. It's actually scheduled. I have all 3 episodes, full episodes, scheduled.
Did you make a new channel?
For YouTube.
You did?
No.
Oh.
I did not make a new channel. No, I put it on our Wreck'd channel.
Oh.
But we could talk about making a new channel.
I mean, I want to put it on a new channel because, like, I want to promote it. You want to promote it. You could share it with you know, if it's on its own YouTube channel, then when we share it, I mean, we're going to be talking about logos today, but like as a brand, it kind of incorporates both of our brands without being on one of
person's page.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Well, I wanted to get the media out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm always about getting it out there. So
I've been sitting on it long enough.
Yeah.
And we don't ever say hello to any, like, we don't ever like welcome anybody to the we don't ever like do like an intro.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. I think that you know what? It's funny that you say that because there's different ways of introducing podcasts that people do, video ones. I'm an avid watcher of I love watching podcasts. I tell my wife I listen to podcasts, but I always have them on YouTube. I have the little screen on because for whatever reason, it's enjoyable. Maybe it's because of this dystopian future we live in, but it's enjoyable to watch humans just talking. It's just enjoyable. Okay. I've thought this for a while. You listen to music, it's kind of like, it kind of distracts you too much. But if you're just listening to people, it makes you feel like you're not, you know, sitting alone in a cubicle in a cold world, you know?
So how does that tie into not being like, welcome to
the intro
episode of Tasty Nuggets. This is Andrew.
Okay, there's different ways people do the intro. Some people have like a intro, like Andrew Santino does it where he introduces the episode, he talks, he like shills his wares or whatever. Okay. Then he does a theme song with a montage, like all these cut random crazy whatever illustrations and stock footage and shit. And then he jumps into the episode. So that's like one way of doing it. Then there's people like say Bill Burr that don't have any kind of intro. He just starts talking and that's it. There's nothing. Then you have like canceled Chris D'Elia, who went back on, and I still listen to. So so sue me. He's funny, but he says it live. He says, "Welcome to Congratulations." That's the name of his podcast.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of like that.
Yeah, well, sort of. But and then he does the theme song underneath it, but it's him. The title comes up, but it's him live in that episode. Does the theme song, and then he just goes into it after the theme song's going. You can't, in my opinion, you can't have just a cold like theme song like on the LG one when I wrote back to you guys and I was like, just have him start talking, no thing in the beginning, just boom, have him start talking. Because people's like, in my opinion, you got to engage, but their attention span is like nothing. So So
you engage and then cut to the intro, you think is the best way to do it? You have some sort of like opening blooper-ish.
That's the other, I was going to talk about that too. Yeah. There's people that do a part of the episode, a funny little snippet of the actual episodes that's coming in the beginning, ropes you in.
Yeah.
And like then goes
trailer,
into the theme
teaser.
Song.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
We need to work on that.
Yeah, I think part of working on it is just that's the other thing I've noticed in podcasts is like it's just evolving. So you don't have to have it set, similar to logos, which you don't have to have set. They're not set in stone. Logos the same way our intro doesn't have to be set in stone. Okay. You could evolve and change it over time.
So what are we talking about today?
Talking about logos. Welcome to Tasty Nuggets.
I thought we weren't doing that.
Oh, all right.
So tell me about logos, man. This is probably going to be a more of a you thing than it is a me thing.
I feel like that was like, I feel like I talked too much and that's what happened last time.
No.
Should we do some video stuff?
We could talk about logos.
All right. Talk about logos and then next time we'll flip it to a more video.
You kick it off with whatever, because you already had it in mind,
I did.
Kick it off like with your navigation through your motions, and I'll be able to contribute meaningfully throughout the course of this podcast.
Definitely, because part of making a logo is it's a 50-50 relationship. The client has to realize that it's 50% them, meaning they have to be involved, but they also have to realize it's 50% the designer. And the designer has to realize that too, meaning there's going to be a little pushback on both sides, but you kind of need that, and you have to kind of it's a little give and take, basically.
Okay. You think there's pushback? I mean, I guess from some people,
there better be pushback. Listen, I've been a pushover, and you not only does the client can just steamroll you. The client can just steamroll you, and you won't even see it coming. If you just let them lead you down a path, and you don't stop them, it could get pretty out of hand. I've had it to where I designed similar to this. I designed a business card for somebody. I love telling this story. And these people came in with printed out clip art, and I looked at it, and it was like they took a 8.5 by 11, and then they just cut and paste, their name, their business, clip art, and put it on 8.5 by 11 and showed it to me. And they said, I want it to look like this. So I took it and I looked at it. I was like, all right. So I kind of did my best to make it look like an awesome business card. And when they came back in, they're like, no, you did it wrong. I want this differently, blah, blah, blah. So this went back and forth a couple times. Finally, I just took the 8.5 by 11, scanned it, and made a business card that was the exact thing. Now,
so when you say clip art, are you talking about like old school
90s clip art,
window clip art?
Yeah, like 3.5 floppy, like CD, like you put it in, and it's like, I've seen some pretty amazing clip art.
When the paperclip assistant used to hook you up with some tips.
Yeah, this
actually that was even prior.
This is when like the cert, like the monitor, like was just white and like this deep. So I just did what they wanted. Now, that was me working for another company, and I couldn't care less. But like when it comes to a logo, you don't want the client to be like, oh, it has to look like this. You want the client to be like, this is what I think. What do you think? And kind of have it be back and forth. Otherwise, basically you're hiring a graphic designer because you're not a graphic designer. Mm-hmm. Like anyone could put it together. And in this day and age, it's easier than ever to make things. Doesn't mean they're making them good. It's just easy to make them, mm-hmm. So it has to be this like give and take. There's been instances where there's a business near here run by some kind of former mafioso. That's a whole nother story. But I designed a they hired me to design a logo, and the process I went through, I don't know what I was thinking at the time. I was probably, I don't know, high or something, maybe, I don't know. But instead of making them like what a normal person would do is make like maybe 3 different versions based on a discussion. We didn't have a discussion, and I made like 12 mock-ups.
Okay. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Like 3 would be, or 4 would be a good number.
Yeah, like, you want to do 3 or 4.
Here's 4 different looks. Okay, so you did 12.
I did like 12. We went back and forth. First of all, I didn't have a meeting with the client. It was all done through this intermediary that was helping them manage their business, which was horrible to start with. I went back and forth via email with the client. Didn't really talk to him. Didn't have a meeting. They didn't like any of the 12. Back and forth. They didn't want to have like... Anyway, I don't want to get into details, but like back and forth. Finally, similar to the business card, they had this sketch that they're like, hey, I just drew it, boom, just drew the sketch, and they sent it to me, and they're like, we want this, and same thing. I was like, you want this exact thing? They're like, yeah. So I just said, all right, fuck it. I scanned it, I vectorized it, and I gave it back to them, and they used it for like a minute. The guy never paid me for the logo because he was a dick. And I just didn't feel like, or at that point I was just like, it's a lost cause. I'm not going to even
chalk it up as an L.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't charge him.
Confrontation.
Yeah. I didn't charge him that much. And what people don't realize when like I see all these designers say on Twitter or other places, they're like, oh, I have a problem with my client. It's like, well, did you have a contract? How much money is it for?
Yeah.
Are they paying you $500 for a logo and they didn't pay you and you didn't really, have to finish it? And like, what did it actually cost you? Is it worth going to court for $500 and you don't have a contract agreement? Yeah, tell them to fuck off, basically. Anyway, so they used that drawn one for a while, and then someone must have came along and been like, "This is really stupid and bad. So they actually redesigned the logo to make it look nice. The messed up part is that the logo that they're using, it's not one of mine identical, but it basically looks like the first round of logos I did for them. So in that instance, I would say that the client didn't have like a 50-50 relationship. They didn't trust me enough or listen to me enough, or maybe I wasn't outspoken enough to be like, look, this is stupid. So those are some of the, that's basically a lot of the pitfalls that you'll deal with when dealing. You got to have like a sit down meeting in a relationship, Yeah,
I've had some logos that I'm been unhappy with.
And what have you done?
Recreated a new logo.
Oh yeah. Well, you gotta,
and I still am not happy with it. But
you gotta hire somebody to.
Yeah, well, I did hire somebody the first time, so I can kind of relate to the story that you're talking about. I've just been kind of like ingesting it all as we're talking. So I did pay somebody to create one of our business logos for a different business, and it just turned into being like this long, drawn out process. And not only was it long, drawn out, there was no creativity to it. It was essentially became like piecemeals of like just stock art or font kind of combined together into what it was.
Is that what the designer came up with, or were you like were you just
and
like,
it was when I first started a business and it was like my first experience with it, with like no real like.
Did you have like were you trying to like get them to do a very specific thing?
No, I had nothing in mind.
Oh, okay. That's kind of like, fun. It could be dangerous, but kind of fun.
Here's the name of the company. I need you to create a brand for it.
Yeah. And that's something different. Look. Like there's the logo and then there's the brand. I had that in my notes, like the difference between
I should retract what I said. Like a representation of a brand look, because a brand goes further than just your logo, which I'm sure you're going to embellish on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't have to get too far into the weeds, but like, branding is, like you said, it's just a broader feeling of your entire company, where a logo is part of the branding. Right,
where you carry over look and feel, color palette, right? There's so many different things that I think fall into representation of brand.
Yeah, definitely. So like that was one of the things I wanted to bring up too, was if you want to make a logo and you don't know what you want and you just need something quick and fast, just go to Google Fonts.
They didn't have this at that time.
Oh, no. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying for now, for people, this is what I recommend I talk myself out of more work than I actually take in, because I'm just like, this might be a pain in the ass. So this is what I tell people to do to gauge how they would be on designing a logo and how fast they need it and if they understand where I'm coming from. But go to Google Fonts, look at the newer ones, look at the ones that are trending, and just pick a nice blocky font. Don't do a script. How do you find out
what's trending? Does it say it like
says it? Yeah. So don't do a script font. I could do a whole episode on fonts, but don't do a script font. Do like a blocky font, or like a nice serif, sans serif. Doesn't really matter. Just pick a modern looking thing, and just if you're a real estate agent and you just make your name, just boom, your name. Don't do like anything crazy. Just write it out. Write it out all caps. For the love of God, I wouldn't use script. I wouldn't use a script font. But anyway, that's a real simple way of making a logo. Just type out the name of the company, type out your name in a nice font, use that for a while, and then feel it out. You don't have to have something, launched,
That's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
When we started this business, we started with the business first, and by the time, we fused everything out, we're like, look, like knowing that we've had this experience with bad logos in the past, like let's just put something together that's real simple. It's just a font.
Yeah.
And then just a font. We can take it to whatever we want from that point, once we have it like ironed out, or we, have a larger budget for that particular portion of marketing or branding. Right. Yeah. So instead of, and I think that's a good piece of advice too, like do what you just said, get a cheap script from Google, get a free one. Right. And then don't like spend $200 on something that's,
you could literally buy
trash.
Fonts that are like $300, $400 of like, and it's like, if you're just starting out, why focus on that?
Yeah, don't buy like a cheap graphic designer either, is what I'm trying to say.
Or be happy with what you like. Just let them do it, but you get what you pay for, basically.
Yeah, and I'm saying exactly along that premise, but like allocate a significant budget for that. Like, don't do that early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it kind of speaks to the whole ethos that we've talked about before of just kind of getting it out there, kind of similar to what we're trying to do with this is just put it out there. But you could like really, and people put so much, do you know what it is? People put so much emphasis on things like the logo and the web design, which is important. If you have the budget for it and the time and you have everything outlined, it is important, but you have to have a cutoff to deciding what these things are going to be. And you also have to spend more time on your actual business than fretting over this shit, you know? It's this careful kind of, it's a careful balance.
It seems to be the theme of these things. We talk about that
careful
often.
balance.
About overthinking it.
Yeah, overthinking it and then underthinking it. I mean, I find I overthink stuff, and fall into a pit of anxiety, and then like, nothing gets done. Yeah. So as far as logos are concerned, I'll just go down my list of stuff. Cut to the jump cuts.
Is this where you sent me that?
I emailed you. I don't know if you could look at it on your bat phone there, but we could go over those. There's one I sent you of the GoDaddy logo, and then there's one I sent you of
it's kind of like a mix mash.
There's one image where it shows the new GoDaddy and the old GoDaddy logo, and then the other image is Montfort Misfits.
It's like.
Let me see your phone. Let me see what you're looking at.
It's like a multi. Ready?
I mean, yeah.
Boom.
What the?
That's what you sent me, homie.
I didn't send this to you.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, okay. Look at the. Oh man, you cut it off. What the hell? All right, I'm gonna send you another one.
Why don't you just text it to me?
Oh yeah, good idea. I don't know how to work your phone. I'm like hitting buttons.
This is like, that reminds me of the scene in The Jerk. You remember that?
Which one?
Can you pass me the salt, please? He's like all the way down the thing. Do you remember that movie?
Oh yeah, dude. My favorite.
Just sliding everything down the.
My favorite scene is the oil cans. It's like, these cans are defective. Oh man, I use that movie, and whenever I'm like coming down off of acid or something, I'll watch that movie. I've done that with my then girlfriend, now wife, where like we were coming down off of something, and I was like, we just got to watch The Jerk, and she's like, she's not into older movies, Steve Martin, whatever. I was like, you just gotta trust me, and she did, and we were just laughing our fuck. It's just so absurd. Anyway. Let me text. So first of all, I showed you the.
So we want to talk about the GoDaddy one.
Yeah, let's talk about the GoDaddy one.
So I feel like I've talked about ranting about looking at your phone while you're podcasting.
Yes,
but this is for a viable reason.
This totally counts as something that had to get done.
So I have the GoDaddy logo in front of me.
So
there's obviously a huge graphical difference between the two.
Oh yeah. And we could do we could do like a little overlay of the images. We could do like, you could do like cut it where it's like one here.
Where do you want it? Yeah.
One here, one here, one here. Is that too much work, Will? Boom, boom.
Noting in my hands here.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. All right, so I have it in front of me.
There's the old one with the stupid head and the stupid font.
Right, but it was recognizable.
It was recognizable because that's what they had, and their company, it kind of fits with their company because their company's kind of shitty and their logo's kind of shitty. And they use that forever. Mm-hmm. They use that on like Super Bowl commercials. Like it's everywhere. It's kind of like dated. It's like 90s-ish. Like it looks like the squiggly lines. It's so bad.
Hair.
Yeah, it's so horrible. And I'm so happy that they switched it over because they had that forever.
See, and this is the thing I'm looking for too. So I started out with just font, and I wanted to talk about this too.
We talking, baby?
The difference between just having just a font incorporated in your logo and as just a word logo, and also additionally having that graphical representation that could surmise your companies with its brand as well.
Like the text and then like a graphic.
They'll use now the squiggly line. They can put this squiggly line that they have in the front, this like heart or this G. I guess this is a G and something.
Yeah.
G-O, is that what that is? Just twisted to the side, a G and an O for GoDaddy?
Or G and a D, I would imagine.
It's not a D.
It's not a D?
No, it's not the D.
It's not a D, my friend.
Not a D. No, it's an O for sure. Okay.
I have to look at it.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the hell you're doing. It's taking you forever to send me one image.
Because you're talking and I'm trying to pay attention. There's a lot going on.
But now they can take that, transpire that over to, shirts for staff or merch in a smaller manner than just having GoDaddy written out, which is genius. And I am excited to get myself to that point where I can derive what would be just a simple moniker that makes a representation of my brand.
Yeah.
And be able to diversify from just text to that.
Yeah, they got a lot. Okay, so I have worked in various companies as a graphic designer. I wouldn't say I'm more of a conceptual artist where I could pick things that look good or work with people like artists to actually, I could make logos. I've made some good logos, but I think where my strength is, I could tell you what to do with the logo or if something looks good or not. Now, I've worked in a bunch of companies with graphic designers. Graphic designers are very opinionated. Often they're wrong. And ultimately, it's futile to kind of, belabor the whole point, like designing the logo, drawing it out so long. You get to a certain point where you just want the client to fucking pick something, basically. With that being said,
it's futile.
Yes, the old GoDaddy logo, it's so dated. It's got like those Seinfeld geometric shapes behind it, like those ovals.
Seinfeld, actually.
Yeah, the ovals and like nothing is really congruous. Like the eyeglasses don't match; they're different shapes. All the squiggly hair thing, like what is that? Mm-hmm. Like this is obviously like thrown together.
Carries
the fonts
over to the font.
Yeah, the fonts are like not very good, and they have the .com, which is like in this day and age you don't need to have a .com.
Yeah,
for
but
a
this was their
reasons.
original logo.
Yeah, this is their original logo.
So if you think about that, they launched. Without googling it right now, I would safely surmise that they launched, and I would say very early 2000s.
Yeah, if not earlier than that. The guy
anywhere from 98 to 2002. But
epic shouts to the owner. Like the owner of the company is like this old guy that was doing some kind of IT work, and he just kind of grew this huge company into what it is now. He did it with a crappy logo, but that kind of is just even more of a testament to how good the company is, in the sense that he got it out there and he filled a need. I don't use GoDaddy for emails, anything.
I don't use them for emails. They just host web sites for me.
Just the domains.
I've had a bad experience with them.
Yeah, they're very bad.
And getting on what was supposed to be secure.
Yeah, it's not secure.
And getting an SQL hack on my website and had to rebuild again because all the data was destroyed.
I've heard horrible stories.
I don't even use them as a server.
Yeah,
so
no.
But I have somebody else that provides.
No, I definitely don't. I don't use them
as get the name.
Just the domain. Yeah,
URL.
No SSL. Yeah. Don't buy an SSL through them. Don't do any of the when you're checking out. Just do the friggin' domain. Yeah. Anyway, so
we want to talk about the new one. The new one is the only thing that I think is interesting about it is you went from the gray to the blue background, and I feel like I get it, but that. I guess that what I'm trying to, I'm like stuck. I'm stuck. So with the blue, it becomes like very narrow what you can do with that blue. So you'd always have to strip that away, which is, I guess, the benefit of having just the design portion of the logo, because you can just print that on whatever. The blue background isn't synonymous with their brand, or is it, at that point? Because it never fit into their color palette before. So what's up with the blue? Like, where does that come?
they changed. I think that's kind of part of the branding. I think maybe they changed the colors that they wanted to associate.
So they only sell light blue T-shirts with that on? No, right?
No, that's probably, that's why there's that versatility to it, to where they could just have that flat. That'll look good. These are things that people don't consider, is like, that's going to look good on embroidery. That's going to look good on screen printing. That's going to look good on a big sign. It's going to look good on a business card. That's going to look good everywhere.
Because it's simplistic.
It's simplistic, and it can shrink and grow. You could put it on something big. You could put it on something small, and you're still going to recognize it. Whereas the old one, you can't do that. It's going to look stupid on embroidery. Yeah. It's going to look stupid on a business. It just looks stupid in general. And the colors, there's 3 different colors, you know, and they're horrible. They're horrible colors.
Also more expensive to print.
It's also more expensive to print. You can't do as many things as like you were saying. If you wanted to put it on a different color, say you were doing like breast awareness month, breast cancer awareness month, and
every month is breast awareness month. Don't you know that, Andrew?
Yeah, you can't say that with that shirt on. It's just that's a whole nother level to it. So you'd want to have it pink, you know, so you could do that with the new logo. The other one, everything would clash. It would look ugly as hell. So I think the new one's better. Things that stick out to me are the font. Okay, so the stroke width on the icon that they use. The stroke width. Come on, man, grow up. The width of the stroke. It doesn't match between the icon and the font, which bothers me. The other thing that bothers me is that in the Go, there's an arrow. The GoDaddy, it looks like there's an arrow, and it doesn't match with the G in the little icon thing. So there's these incongruities that I don't like on the new
arrow
logo.
are you talking about?
The arrow in the G. It's the G, the little lip of the G. It's like whoop.
Where, in the new one?
In the new one. In the new one.
Oh, okay.
And then there's also the little G in the icon, and the two G's basically don't, whether that's an arrow or not, the two G's kind of don't match between the icon and the font, and I think it bothers me. Bothers my eye. So the width of the stroke width, and then how the 2 G's, the one in the icon and the actual G in the logo and the lettering don't match. It really bothers me. So those things stick out to me. So like that's what I would point out to a client, is like, if you're looking at it, is it going to catch your eye, or is something inside of it going to distract you from the actual, like, are you looking at the whole image, or are you fixating on little parts of it? How's the spacing, the letting and the kerning between the letters? Like you got to look at all that stuff. Theirs is pretty good, actually. I always get the letting and the kerning mixed up, but one of them is.
I've never even heard of those words before.
Oh yeah, I'm deep, dude. I used to work at a couple different printing presses.
What is letting?
The letting and the kerning is the spacing between the letters. So it's either the spacing between the lines,
okay,
or it's the
which
spacing.
Is which one?
I think the letting is the one that's between the letters.
And then the kerning is from the top to the bottom.
Yeah, and I could totally be wrong. So
we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out one way or another. Google it, people. Anyway, that's the stuff you gotta, you like, yeah. So the new one's better, but it's still cheesy to me. It's like better, and it's more contemporary, but there's certain things in it where it doesn't look like a lot of well put thought was put into it.
I think it's just like really simple.
It is really simple, but that's what you want. You want people.
But you have the same issue. You should have the same issue with this, is that the G in the new one has got an arrow on the end of it.
Yeah.
And the G in what I think is in that scribble over there, which is, if you're looking at it, does that not look like a G-O and not a G-D?
Yeah, it looks.
Because that looks more like an egg, right? And that G doesn't have the arrow.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the old one.
No, I was talking about the new one, man.
So I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I saw you looking at it. I'm like, what is he? Anyway, I was talking about the new one. The new one, the old one is just, it's just horrible. Oh, the new one is not as horrible, but there are things about it that I don't like. So all right, there's that.
I got that one up. So
there's the Montford Misfits one. So what does that look like to you? Like, what does that look like to you? Pop this. This one's going to be popped up too.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you 2 things that I think it looks like.
Okay.
The first one is rated G, and the second one is rated X.
Okay, perfect. Well, I want to give an epic shouts to AJ, who Montfort Misfits, and I'll get more into the history of the company in a second, but this is his company. I love the guy, but this logo bothers the shit out of me. So go.
So we're going to put this logo right here.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
All
right. So the first thing, if you had a real simplistic glance, you would look at it and be like, that looks like kind of like a candle upside down or a candle, right?
Yeah.
But when you look at it at the second glance, to me, that looks more like a vagina.
It looks like a vagina.
It does. So you got the lips on the outside there, the center, the little dot there on the bottom being the clitoris area, and the rest of the maybe the inner labia hanging out or opening there.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm really seeing it. I'm really seeing this vagina. I didn't even think about that.
Flipped it the other way, you know, upside down. I mean, obviously, you know, so that would be my second impression. Maybe I'm just a little more artistic than some other people. I mean, now that I've said it, you probably can't unsee it.
Well, no, definitely. No, it's
right.
Now it's a vagina. Vulva or vagina? I always,
the vulva is like everything.
Okay, then this is the vulva then?
No, I think this is the vagina.
This is the inner workings.
This is just the bottom part. The vulva is the rest.
Okay.
That could be another podcast.
Okay, yeah, it's a science podcast. We don't have to get into biology right now.
So that's what I think about it.
Okay, well,
so what is it really supposed to be if it's not supposed to be that?
So, epic shouts to AJ. I had one of the best nights in Atlantic City. I don't remember most of it. We kind of blacked out. AJ's friends with my older brother, and the day after we partied, he like told my brother, he's like, "That was awesome. Your brother's a lot of fun." I don't really remember much of what happened, but ever since then, me and AJ, you know, we've had good times and partied hard. Anyway, with that being said, this logo is actually, if you look at it, it's okay, not the drip, not the the sides of it, but labia. That main, not the labia, the main part is actually a snowboarder. It's actually a snowboarder. The two hooky parts out are like arms with mittens, right? And then you could kind of see the two boots, the two tips of the boots on the left side, the boop sticking out. Like the board is, can you kind of see it?
Okay, so it's looking down from this perspective?
Yeah, it's like either
up and down?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's either that or it's looking down, but the board is up.
So what's the drip at the bottom supposed to be?
I don't know. This is no bueno, my friend.
Yeah, so I don't even understand.
So Montfort,
what their company is.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna send you the new logo in a second. They changed the name of the company. The company, it's kind of brilliant, is they make state signs. They make signs that are in the outline of a state, and then they put all of the local breweries inside the state. So they make this big, like the state of New Jersey. Then it'll have Kane. It would have, you know, all the other Carton.
I get it. I've seen this stuff before.
So they built this. This is a side business, and it blew up. So
kind of like with like this cool, kind of like cartoony, kind of graphical raised version of that.
Yeah, I'll show.
Dude, so you need to tell them that this looks like a vagina.
Well, I don't, thankfully, because I just texted you the new logo.
Oh.
They changed the name of the company because the name of the company was Montfort Misfits. Doesn't really explain what the company's about. The new name of the company is States of Brew. So States of Brew at least okay. Sounds better.
That's totally different.
Yeah. They upgraded. They changed the branding, States of Brew.
It's kind of steampunk.
Yeah, the font is great, super simple, not a lot going on because you don't need a lot going on in the logo.
So what would be... Okay, so they did keep that icon though.
Whoever designed this,
which makes it even more of a vagina.
Yeah,
underneath it now.
This is a classic move by whoever designed this. Tip of the hat. This is when you take something that's bad and you just kind of shrink it till it's almost not there. So eventually, what'll happen is it'll just go away. Probably in a couple iterations, if they haven't done this already, they'll just stop putting the vagina on there and it'll just be the new logo.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did that on purpose or if like AJ or somebody was like,
probably like, I want to still kind of keep the brand
and they're like,
in
okay,
there.
we'll could you make it we'll just make it a little small, little tiny vagina. So
I get that, because I did that when I created my second logo, where I kept a small element.
Yeah.
From which I don't like either, too, but I had to keep that recognition as I made the change, and then
now it's just off into the sunset. It'll slowly.
Yeah.
So the name of the company, the branding of the company makes more sense, and the logo makes more sense. I've talked to him about his logo, and I never had the courage to be like your. It's hard.
Sucks.
It's hard. It's like. It's kind of like if somebody has like a booger in their nose.
I would want somebody to say that, though, and be like, "Look, dude, you know what? Like, no, like hard feelings, but your logo sucks. Like, let me help you get it fixed up."
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And like I was saying, it's kind of like a booger in your nose. Like if you're talking to somebody, are you the type of person to be like, you got a little something there you might want to take care of, or are you the type of person to just stand there and be like, So this is like, maybe when I was talking to him about it, I was like, I don't give a shit what his logo. His business is doing great, good for him. The fact that he changed it, though, it's sort of like when your friend is dating a horrible person and then they break up, and then you could tell them afterwards how horrible that person was. It's like now I could go to him and be like, yo, man, that logo looks great,
I think I get it now.
Yeah.
And if they meant to do it or not, with I alluded to the steampunk before, but ultimately it's basics of a compass, right? Is it not?
Oh,
and that's kind of like the premise behind what they do, is that they show you where things are on a map.
Brilliant.
Right.
This looks so much better. The font is so cool.
Two birds with one stone, right? Makes it modern at the same time, and has
This is thought. This is thought. But do you know what the downfall of society is basically what brought it on was Google image search, because now people could Google, they don't have to Google they just have to put in cool logo, and then anyone could look up a logo, and then like you're kind of. You're not. That's not very. Basically, that's not very original. It's not an original way to get inspired. It's kind of. It irks me a little bit. I have logo books where you could look through. I would
rather hire somebody. That knows something about it than look up cool logo and be like, all right, now I need to figure out how I'm going to get a vector and PNG and bring it into Photoshop, and I'm good on that.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a lazy sense, because we do a lot of stuff BTS here, right? But you want to hire the experience.
You got to trust them, though. You got to work with them and trust them, and you have to be open and honest enough to be like, yo, I don't like that. I want something different, or you have somebody like, I think Steve Jobs, when they came up with the logo for Apple, I think he wanted an apple. And they he hired an awesome designer, but he went to them with an idea, and there was a little back and forth, and it's a pretty iconic icon.
You mean back when it was Macintosh?
Yeah, Apple.
Yeah. Right? No, but are you saying when he designed it originally?
Yeah, like the rainbow apple with the bite,
striped kind of.
Yeah, the logo is still that same apple with the bite out of it, which is just so
it's just solid
huge.
Now.
It's so it's such an amazing, that's such a great idea. There's certain logos where it's so simple, but there's so much behind it. The apple, Adam and Eve, all these different things that went into the thought process of it. But you don't want the client to, you don't want the client to. You want to make the client happy. You want them to trust you, because you're hiring a client is bringing a designer onto the project to kind of make tasteful decisions. If you had the tasteful decisions yourself,
backed by experience, knowledge of what works and what doesn't, an understanding of it, I think.
Yeah, it's similar to me making music. I hire a engineer to
master the track.
Yeah, to mix and master the track, because they I could say I could do it, and I have done it, and it doesn't sound that good. Whether it's good or not, the overall is one thing, but the sound of it, I know that a mixer, a master, an engineer can go in, and he went to school, he studied whatever he did to learn how he did his craft. So you got to hire a graphic designer for that same purpose, that they have the experience. A lot of people A lot of people will hire like their 15-year-old nephew to be like, hey, you want to be a designer, and then you kind of get what you pay for with that. You on both ends, because the kid is dealing with a client that probably isn't that sophisticated, and the client is hiring somebody basically. Either they don't value graphic design as like, they want to give the kid a shot, they don't value graphic design, or they're just trying to save some money. Yeah. And for any of those is,
Which kind of ties back to what I said earlier.
What?
About the money, spending the money on.
Oh, yeah, spending the money. Like, that's the other thing too. Like, what I have my notes here. Where'd they go? Wu-Tang, Epic.
Yes. You're talking about their album that the government just sold off?
What do you mean?
What's the name of that
government album? Sold off?
Yeah. That guy, Michael. What's his name? Michael.
Oh, what the pill guy?
Yeah. He owned that one album that was like a master.
Yeah, there's a lot of controversy behind that.
Silver box. It comes in a silver
one of a kind
box. Yeah, it has like this journal in it.
It's not technically a Wu-Tang. It's a Wu-Tang album, but it's not like the Wu-Tang Clan. Like all the people that were on it, they weren't told. Like all the Wu-Tang members were on it, but they weren't told that they were making this Wu-Tang album, basically. So there's a lot of controversy. And then there's the Shrek guy, whatever his name is.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. He got arrested and they took all his shit.
Yeah. So they just recently, somebody just purchased it. And I would say over somewhere in the range of $2.5 to $3.5 million. They didn't really specify, but the guy was, not to like totally give the news on this guy, but if you remember who he was the guy that jacked up like the AIDS /
the pill pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, that was like $1.50 or whatever per pill to $7.50.
And then he just bought the Wu-Tang album.
$50 per pill.
Yeah.
But so he got this thing, so they seized it, and they wound up seizing like over $7 million of his assets, was what he was ordered to pay. And also got jail. And I know that it had said, and I just recently did a story on our other podcast about this. That's why I have so much like random knowledge. Like five and change mil was already taken by the feds. Yeah. So if he had like a 7.4 balance, then he only needed to pay another $2 million or whatever, but they don't release the information who. So somebody bought it though for that plus.
I wonder if they're gonna like really. He bought it just to be a dick, and like then Wu-Tang like was talking shit to him and like back and forth, yada yada. But I wonder if the new person is gonna be cool and like release it. It was made by like a junior member. It was this Wu-Tang member that they met on tour in Europe, I think. So it's this guy from Europe, and he worked with like I think the RZA and like put it together. So it's not like recognized as
AKA Bobby Digital.
Yeah, AKA I don't know any of his other name. RZA Razor Sharp. What were some of his name? Bobby Digital, RZA. What else? What else did he? Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're totally off topic.
I don't remember.
The Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang.
Back to my original point.
That was what the story was gonna be, man.
No. What does that have to do with logo? So the Wu-Tang logo. It was made back when they started for $400.
It's fucking genius.
Yeah. Is made by Ronald Bean, aka Mathematics, who is like their DJ. Like, so he's been with the Wu from the beginning. Okay. He doesn't get. As far as I know, from whatever I've watched, like he doesn't get royalties, or he doesn't own a piece of the logo. He gave it to them.
Sure.
And some people have issue with that, and they're like, it's not fair. And it's like, no, it actually is very fair, because his career is very successful. He did the logo when he needed the money. It was like, apparently, according to Jizza or RZA, it was like half of their rent money for the time. They wanted a logo, so they paid the $400 to get the logo done, because that's what they could afford. So keep that in mind, people. And there's no ownership over it. I've talked to people that do graphic design work, and they have these licensing contracts, and I'm like, you're a dick. Like you're a complete
I want the masters.
Dickhole. Well, yeah, you just like when I design a logo or if I make a website, people own it. Like it's theirs. Yeah. Like I here you go. Like I'm not trying to be a.
It's not like
dick.
A print of an artwork.
Yeah, you know
like original that you had.
It's so funny when you talk to certain graphic designers, you talk to designers in general, web designers, whoever, and you ask for a price or a quote, and they can't tell you what the price would be, and then they come to you and say, well, there's a licensing agreement, so if you use it on t-shirts, that's okay, or you could use it for extended, like ridiculous legalese. Just give somebody the logo.
Yeah, you know? I'm not, if anybody said that to me, I would definitely not hire them.
Yeah.
You know
definitely. I'd be like, you're a nut. So anyway, this guy made the logo iconic, and it's so simple. It's a W. It's just a big, cool looking W.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So anyway, I just think that's amazing. Yeah. And to think that like he was paid $400 cash.
Yeah.
You know, which you know, one of the things I wanted to talk about was how do you price a logo out? Like what, you know, the ultimate give and take, the ultimate game between client and designer is what's your budget? Like clients don't want to say what their budget is because they think that, oh, if I say 2,000, then he's going to say 2,000. I don't ask people what their budget is anymore. I just tell them, I'm like, it's gonna cost this, and if they don't like it, then that's fine, you know. But anyway, and most people that design stuff, they get a little reluctant to say what the price is because they don't know what they're getting into. But you got to like put these guardrails on in the beginning to be like, I'm going to send you 3 choices. From those 3 choices, you get to pick one. From that one choice, I do 2 revisions, and then from those 2 revisions, we have a final product. And if we don't have a final product by that point, you're going to pay me a deposit. You're going to pay me like halfway through, and then if there's, you know, you're going to pay me upon completion the rest of it. But if we go through these steps and you don't have something that you like, you need to pick something or you need to pay me more money. And that's when I go into an hourly rate. Because I'm like, all right, we got to wrap this up. An hourly rate is going to put the pressure on the client to pick something. Mm-hmm. It's also going to make me feel better about wasting all this stupid time picking a dumb logo, because ultimately logos should happen very fast. They should happen very fast. And the reason is, well, mostly the reason is for the people I'm dealing with, they don't have these Pepsi budgets, which... That was another story I was going to get into. I don't know if you know about the Pepsi logo. That
story behind it.
No, there was a revamp of it. They hired this company to revamp the Pepsi logo, and it cost them millions of dollars. And this design company made like a booklet. They started talking about like the circumference of the Earth and how it relates to fractals. They went through this whole thing, but the logo pretty much looks very similar to how it used to look. But they got paid millions, and that's. That, you know, as far as how much you should pay somebody to make a logo, if you hire somebody and they're pretty sophisticated and you know, you've seen their work and you really like the style they do, I would say somewhere between $2,000, like somewhere around the ballpark of $2,000 is something that you should be comfortable paying for a nice logo. If you need something quick and it's going to be easy to do, and you don't want, you know, it's $500 to $1,000 should be like somewhere on the next level down. You know, anything below that is like probably asking for trouble.
What do you think is an appropriate amount of time for a logo build? So I hire you and say, Andrew, you know, here's our current logo. It's very simple. It's just text. We have your $2,000 budget for this project, which should be the Goldilocks zone on getting something high end. We don't have any creative input on what that should look like, but I want something that has not only script and a logo in it, but I want something that I can derive from that into an icon to transfer, you know, different types of branding, whether it just be the name of the company or just the icon itself on something. What's the time frame for a turnaround on that? Pending that I'm a very proactive client in the sense of you send me over edits, I give you immediate feedback on what my thoughts are, and the changes are minimal.
I would say, I'd say like a month or 2.
4 weeks, 8 weeks.
Yeah, 4 to 8 weeks, because it's like people don't take into consideration. There's a lot of like
other projects that are happening.
There's other projects that are happening, right. But there's like a lot of thinking that goes on, which like people just. I worked for this one guy. I worked for this one guy. He was a coder, and he did affiliate marketing. He made a lot of money off of selling flat screen TVs through like Google Ads and affiliate marketing. Through like, you know, he'd put the ads out there, he'd send you to a site and you'd buy a flat screen TV. He made thousands and thousands of dollars, and then he thought he was some epic marketer, so he kept trying to reproduce things, but he didn't make quality stuff. Anyway, I digress. This is probably a test to that, a test to what I just said. He sat me down one day and he was like, all right, I need you to make a logo. All right. He's like, I want you to do it in 15 minutes. And I was like, okay. So he's like, go. And I was like, I typed out the name of his company, his name, whatever it was. And I said, here you go. And he's like, Andrew, this is horrible. I'm like, it's done, 15 minutes. Like, there you go. Like, you can't, there takes time to sit down and just ponder the ideas and then put them together. And you have to kind of space it out in order to like really, sometimes, yeah, you could turn stuff over really quick. But, you know, usually what I would do is, even if I came up with a bunch of ideas in the beginning, I would still wait a week to show them to you, because I'd want to think about, like, if I had to, oh, wow, these are great, came up with 3 like in 15 minutes. Okay. Oh, wow. If I came up with that, I'd still want to sit on it, because I'd want to be like considering like what you've told me in the meeting we had. And I'd also want to make sure that like these are like as tight as they could be.
Is there things that people should know before they go into this meeting with a marketing person and say, hey, I want to launch this brand?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you should,
like, what's valuable to go in, and if I don't know anything, and be like, hey, you know, I want to do this, but I don't know anything about it.
You should know what your budget is first and foremost. And you should maybe look at, doesn't necessarily have to be in the same category of business that yours is, but you'd want to go out and look at businesses and look at other people's logos and like look at what you like and what you don't, and explain that to the person designing the logo. Be like, you know, I looked at the, I looked at the Dunkin' Donuts logo, and I like the color. I like how it's simple. You know, I worked with this one guy who told me.
It's not Dunkin' Donuts anymore, is it?
It's Dunkin'. Whatever. It's always gonna be Dunkin' Donuts to me.
Yeah, me too.
But I had this one guy back in the day. He was telling me the story. He was designing a logo for somebody, and the company he was working with wanted it. He's like, we like the Dunkin' Donuts logo. And he's like, all right, so you like the font, you like the colors. They're like, well, we just want you to make it look like that. And he's like, so you want me just to copy the Dunkin' Donuts logo? So that's not really what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is like the mood of it. Do you want it to be like, that's kind of like a bright, fun kind of brand or logo, Dunkin' Donuts one. The round kind of font is kind of modern. Well, maybe not modern now, but like at the time, you know, it was fresh. It looked fresher.
It represents also things like chocolate, sprinkles, strawberry, right?
Yeah.
Like the donuts itself.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So like, you know, you'd want to look at different like companies. You might want to look at companies within your same industry just to see kind of what they have. Like, would you want your logo to have a serious feel or like a fun feel? You know, like the GoDaddy logo was not like their original one is definitely not a serious logo.
Do you think maybe they went in there and they thought it was though?
Maybe they might have. I've talked to people. I did the logo for the Bourrée, which is in Atlantic City. It's this restaurant right off the boardwalk. It's the same people that own Bond Street Bar and all the other places over there. I do their website, and they wanted me to come up with a logo for they were opening this new, you know, place down in Atlantic City. So the one thing that I pushed back on with them is that they have this brand. They have their iconic eyeball logo.
Yeah, the, like lash.
They have the I don't know why I can't think of there's Loteria, which is like the Mexican food side, and they have it's like a mermaid whatever flat design, similar to the eyeball, which is like a flat design. The mermaid has a flat design. And then there's Capitoline, which is the Italian one, which is it's a wolf with these teats. It's like a wolf teats.
I thought it was going to be a line.
No. Anyway, so I took a look at those and I'm like, well, since you have a company and you want to match the brand that you kind of have going, I'm going to make whatever logo, whatever the design is for this new place, Boo-Ray, I'm going to do it in the style of these other ones. Now, the original eyeball is super cool. I think M Did It is the company that did Jenna? The original one. Yeah, Jenna. And then I think they came up with the derivative for the Capitoline and then for Loteria, which are basically, they're based off of like ancient, they're based off of iconography from like either cards or anyway, it's historically accurate. One's from Italy. One has something to do with Mexican food. I'm not explaining it very well, but anyway, they look a certain way. So Boo-Ray is based on it was based on the idea of like a New Orleans style restaurant. The food, it's gonna have that same sparseness that the Bond Street and all those places have, but it's gonna be more of like a New Orleans kind of fun party feel, whatever. So they came to me with some ideas. They wanted to have it look like a playing card with like an alligator on it, or like different ideas. And I kind of had to steer them in this way, for better or for worse. They did it. What I came up with was like I guess it's a crocodile, or is it an alligator? I forget what it is. I had it all written out. But anyway, the logo is a let's just say I think it's a crocodile. And it's in the same style as the mermaid and the wolf. Like they still look the same, because I think it's cool that they all match. Yeah. There was pushback on that. They didn't want it to look like that, but I was kind of adamant in certain ways of being like, look, it matches the rest of them. If you have something that looks cheesy, it's going to look cheesy.
Not a brand.
Yeah, and I'm like, this looks cool. So it was one of the most mature ways I handled a design of a logo in the past, because at points in the past I'd just be like, all right, fuck it, whatever. You want a fucking clown on there,
you're the
alligator clown makeup on a business card. Plus I'm like, you have a playing card, and then you're gonna have an alligator on top of that, and then you're gonna have lettering on top of that. I'm like, that's not gonna translate. It doesn't look as cool as a big alligator or crocodile, whatever it is. And it's really satisfying. We came to an agreement. The one of the last changes, they wanted me to make the mouth lilt a little more, so it looked like the alligator or the crocodile was smiling. I don't know if we accomplished that, but I did it for him. I just tweaked it a little bit, and designed the signs that they put up for the place. Also, we incorporated a new font for the Boo-Ray one, which is more of a New Orleans-y kind of style font. If you saw it, you know what I
kind of think I have a vision of what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like an old timey, New Orleans-y kind of whatever. So the reason I came up with the crocodile is because, I don't know, New Orleans. I was trying to think of something that was like iconic. Couldn't really think of much. And I'm like,
that should have been the one with the teats on it.
With the teats, yes. It should have had
instead of
big
the other
teats.
one, New Orleans.
It should have had, show me your teats, and it should have had like beads, like carnival beads. Anyway,
I told you I would contribute meaningfully during this logo conversation. I definitely have delivered.
Definitely, you have, 100%. So I came up with the iconography of the crocodile. I had it match the other ones, and some people might say like, oh, well, those were already done. You didn't. And I'm like, well, I mean, they didn't have anything. It looks super cool. It matches their brand. It's this bright green color. Capitoline, I think, is the mermaid is pink. Capitoline is something else. Anyway, they have these very specific kind of color palettes that are sort of bright and primary. Anyway, so it came up with the New Orleans font. It looks so cool on their t-shirts. It looks so cool on their sign. Like the manager, he's like he's like the general manager now of them. He didn't like the design, but he's like, ultimately he's like, I had so much shit going on. Like I wanted it to be over.
Yeah.
So anyway, I forgot why.
When does this launch? When does this launch?
The logo or the restaurant?
Did it open already?
Yeah, it's been open for a couple of years now. It's pretty nice.
Scene.
Huh?
I'm totally out of the
Well, I mean, it's down in Atlantic City, so unless you go down to Atlantic City, they're trying to build up that whole area, and this is one of the first restaurants they put in there.
Good. I hate Atlantic City.
But
Sorry.
What do you mean? Why do you hate Atlantic City? Because of the degenerates down there?
It's just like it's
gross.
It's not a lot of fun.
It's not fun?
No, I'm not into wasting my money on.
Oh, you don't like gambling? What about clubbing? What about comedians? They have cool comedians down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all the time. Still go down there. Anywho, and plus I've heard that they want to make it like a weed capital. I'm like, that's great. That would actually be great.
They were trying to get like exclusivity on like the first like recreational shops in the state.
I hope there's a lot of.
They declined that already.
Huh?
They already declined that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, excuse me. It's so.
Well, I mean the exclusivity on like.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, but they could still make it like the weed capital of New Jersey. Yeah, they totally could.
I just read today if they were gonna allow here in Tinton Falls any retailers that to be able to distribute or whatever, and apparently
they turned it down.
Yeah, they did.
There's so many towns,
but they left it open ended with like a chance to come back and reevaluate it at a certain point in time or whatever.
It's because these towns are run by like old people, and they're like, we don't like money. We want to make money the old-fashioned way.
Yeah. But times have changed, right? And they're going to lose out on a lot of tax money.
Well, yeah, they're going to lose out on, once they start seeing the money rolling in, like Neptune has one. Like once you start seeing the money rolling in, you're going to be like real quick to be
I saw it on like the township Facebook page. Mm-hmm. You know how that goes, right? Yeah. And you like read that. I always fish the comments in there to see what some of these people are saying about it.
That's what the good shit is.
And we're like, yeah, you already got one in Eatontown and one in Neptune.
That's good.
So
that's enough pot smokers.
Somebody was like, well, first of all, the one in Eatontown is medicinal. I don't know if they'll make the switch to recreational or not. I think they get first stabs at it when it does happen, right? So there's that. And then they're like saying something stupid like that. And somebody responded back like, dude, how many fucking liquor stores are in one town?
Yeah.
You know, like who has just...
People have this reefer madness mentality where like there's going to be all these like people like playing jazz and like hanging out outside the store, like going crazy. Yeah. But whatever. How did we get? Atlantic City.
Atlantic City, yeah, because you said I wanted to make it kind of the weed capital of the world. Yeah. I was just embellishing on the fact of how unaccepted it is in some other places because of
for now
whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
that was a good example as far as the logo design of like it went fairly well. There was a lot of give and take. We had a deadline. I did sketches in the beginning, like really rough sketches to be like, what do you think of this one, this one, this one? And then it kind of evolved. It evolved from there, and it was a relatively smooth process. The best, probably mostly because they were under the gun to open the restaurant, so they were just trying to get everything done, which worked out in their favor and in my favor because they picked the
They weren't argumentative on your pushback. They weren't like, dude, I'm fucking paying you. I want you to.
There was enough people involved, and my good friend was sort of she hooked me up with the job, and she was sort of an intermediary. So she was like, she liked me, and she kind of liked my style. So she was like kind of facilitating it, making sure it went through.
This is what we paid for. Yeah. Like we should really pay attention to what they have to say.
Yeah, exactly. And like I kept saying the branding, going back to the branding, being like, we want it all to match. We want it all to match because that's what's going to make it look cool. If you pick a cheesy like New Orleans like cheese,
which comes back to branding.
Yeah. So anyway, that went pretty well. There's been a lot of stories like the one I said before, like where there's just been like nightmare scenarios. There's other scenarios I've had where I know this one psychologist I worked with. She couldn't really make up her mind as far as what logo she wanted. I designed her a logo, very simple, using some fonts, I think, and that was maybe a butterfly on it or whatever, because every shrink has a butterfly on their logo. And
that promotes serenity?
I guess so. I mean, it's like every every real estate agent or every roofer is going to have a roof on their logo. So maybe every psychologist is going to have a butterfly on their logo. She ultimately went with these birds on her logo. She wanted it to be like a rose gold foil. And I was trying to explain to her that if you put a texture onto a logo, I wouldn't do that personally because it doesn't really translate always to everything that you're going to put it on.
How terrible that would look in embroidery.
Yeah, exactly. You can't really do it in embroidery. You can't do it in certain things. So in theory, it looks cool, but in practice, especially when you're using very thin, as she was using very thin like lettering. So like it doesn't really translate. It's like sometimes the client comes up with a concept, oh, rose gold, like a texture, I want to use that. And it's like, well, what's the context? And why are you coming up with that? Like, let the designer come to you with stuff if you want to use it, but also be receptive to being like, well, this is why you shouldn't use that XYZ. Ultimately, it was really funny because she had her logo redesigned, and the person that she hired to redesign the logo, I looked at the graphic designer's logo and they were like identical. The graphic, she basically, I'm surmising that she looked at the graphic designer's logo and said, I want your logo, similar to the person with the Dunkin' Donuts logo.
Right.
But she basically made the logo look exactly like, yeah. So like you're hiring somebody to do that. This person also hired me to make a logo, super cheap. I did it, didn't like it. Hired one of those companies where it's like, all right, it's like an auction site where you like say, I'm going to pay $200. Put your
like Fiverr.
Not Fiverr. It's this other site where you say, I want to spend $200. All these designers
bid on
bid on it. And then you get to pick whatever all these people come up with, and then you get to revise it. But it really doesn't translate into you saving much money, and you get what you pay for. Fiverr, I've hired people on Fiverr to do like little jobs for me.
Did you get the work? Because sometimes they don't do it at all.
I mean, yeah, if you don't, I'm a stickler for stuff. So if people don't do the work, especially on Fiverr, I use Fiverr and Upwork for a lot of stuff. There's a couple other sites I use for coders. But I write out agreements very clearly so that if they don't do the work, then I don't pay them the money. I've had arguments with people on there. Anyway, so you could hire somebody on there, but again, like you get what you pay for. Don't be surprised if you get something back and you're like, you're going for like C+ B material on there, at best. So, with that in mind, she did that auction site. She hired me, changed it, did the auction site, spent more than she wanted to, and then she actually hired somebody else. And then I think she redesigned it again. I think she's on the 4th iteration of her logo.
Wow.
Yeah. Which I guess is okay,
That's why I said earlier, man, start with your font.
Yeah, just
get
start
it figured out.
Yeah.
And then just make something quality.
You gotta
keep making the same mistake over and over and over again.
You gotta kind of divorce yourself, your identity from your brand's identity as well. You gotta think of it as a separate thing. Some people are like, oh well, I like the color. I like the color light purple.
Well,
can you put this?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't print on shit right or whatever.
Well, you could pick whatever color you want, but it's like. Instead of it being like I like purple, I want to put purple on a logo, you got to say, what's my brand, what am I trying to sell, kind of start from there, kind of divorce yourself from the brand and look at it objectively. I think that's what it comes down to, is a lot of people can't objectively look at what they're doing.
That's why you hire somebody that has expertise. I feel like that's been my motto of this show. When it comes to that,
I think it's a motto of
a bad experience with it. It's, push comes to shove.
You kind of have to have on both ends as a designer, as a company, you kind of have to have those bad experiences. If you're smart, you'll learn from what other people's mistakes are, but most people have to kind of go through it to,
If you're smart, you'll hire an in-house marketing person who can help build your brand and work with that graphic designer to build it as you want it.
Yeah, or you hire somebody on retainer, like OK7, to work with you on a regular basis. You could have kind of best of both worlds, where you have somebody available and you don't have to pay them
salary.
Yeah, exactly, and worry about all that nonsense. And also working with somebody in that respect, and this is what I tell to people I work with, is like, you have somebody working in your company 24/7 and that's all they're doing, and you're paying them a lot of money and they're just sitting there with this myopic view, whereas you could work with a company outside that's working with a lot of people that could just focus on that stuff, and that's all they're doing is like focusing on it, making sure it gets done, yada yada yada. So you got to kind of consider that as well. Yeah, I don't know, that's I think I went through everything. I went through everything I wanted to Did you have anything else to?
I love how you looked at me right now. You're like, did you have anything else you want to put in?
It's just me rambling for 40 minutes, and then I look over, and you're just like.
Well, you know what, man? Totally different ball game for me than it is for you. Logos are not my forte, so this was definitely an episode that I expected you to stride in versus me. However, I did have fun just sitting here and asking a few questions here or there.
I feel like I went to therapy because I have so much to say about logo design.
It's important. I agree with that. I think merchandising is important. That's kind of like where I'm at right now. Is like I want to either put some merch out with my current basic, simple logo, but have some sort of additional branding, go out, representation, maybe even monetary flow coming in, if you can put a value on some of that merchandise.
Yeah. I always wonder, like, the balance between, if you print out shirts, people are going to wear them, and that's kind of cool. Like, you have artists coming in, you have musicians. Like, if you could be like, yo, man, here's a shirt. Like, what size do you wear? Because then they're going to wear that out,
Hopefully.
Like, yeah, hopefully. That's I mean, we can get into a whole discussion of, like, quality of clothing. Like, you got to get nice shirts.
It's a big thing for me too. And there's like this one style of shirt that I've noticed, t-shirt that I've noticed recently that I've gotten a couple of somebody else's merchandise from, and they're the same brand. And I'm like, I really like this brand. It has like it has like a real good fit.
Yeah.
It's like the right torso length, the right width, like the
softness,
the right soft material, the right stretch, right? So it's not like trunky and a heavy cotton shirt or whatever. But yeah, absolutely. Like they take your shirt, boom, they put it on one day, they do a post on Instagram, whatever, like, or
they're just out doing a gig,
It'd be incredible. So we can talk about that one time too.
Oh yeah. We got a lot of stuff. I mean, what do you want to talk about next time? Get into more video stuff, and I'll just sit here and like kind of.
I don't know. Like, what do you want to talk about video?
I mean,
video.
Yeah, I mean, what I could do is, and what I've been meaning to do is kind of come in with my video idea and just really, I can kind of approach you with what I have and be like, this is what I want to do. What do you think?
Talking about Nude Curtis.
Yeah, Nude Curtis, highest potential, putting it out there. And I really like, my whole style is in general, is just to, what's the path of least resistance just to get it done? Meaning like, here's some ideas I have. I don't need it to be grandiose. I just need it to get done. So there's a lot of equipment here that you have. So it's like, for you, it's kind of like a layup where, not a layup where it's easy, but in the sense that you have all the equipment here. So like, there's certain things like, all right, I want to put a harness on and fly around. Okay, maybe we don't have that set up.
I just need a roadmap.
Well,
of what we're doing.
What I'm saying is, if that's not something that's readily available, like you have those awesome Maroon 5 curtains back there, incorporate them just because they're epic. So based on those curtains, could we do like a cool angle? Like, how do we set it up? What would the curtains be doing? Just like crazy lights going, whatever. Use what's here basically, which is incredible stuff, as opposed to me sitting at home like doing cardboard cutouts.
We just need to talk about it. And what we want to do. How are we achieving it?
Anyway, so maybe we could talk about it from that angle, bring in some storyboards, some ideas I had.
Well, you have to give us the map. We don't know what's inside your brain.
Exactly. See, so that's the kind of,
in order to ascertain your look, you got to share it with us. But first you have to know what it is.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be pretty,
and think about, what is it going to be? Is it going to be a performance scene? Is it supposed to look like a state? Like, what? I want it to look
sort of like a throwback to like a Poison music video. Like nothing but a good time.
On stage with all those giant park hand rig.
Yeah, like a stretch. Doing like stretchy kicks, hands. And then like you just zoom past with
from down below.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of twists and scarves.
We should do it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the stuff I need to understand.
Yeah. Well, that's where I would start with that.
Well,
and then we incorporate the smoke machine and the lights.
You need to pick
and then a silhouette.
Some time that fits in our fucking calendar to come in and talk about it.
All right. That's what. Well, we'll talk about it.
We can talk about it here at every podcast.
We'll talk about it
if there's no follow through.
That's the tough part. That's the tough part.
So
no, I hear you. I'd rather be like, listen, I'm trying to figure out ways of just doing more of this. I hope people enjoy it. We'll see when we actually get it out there. So we're gonna
create a new YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We also, for now, I think one comes out tomorrow, episode 1.
Oh, cool.
on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you need to get LinkedIn on that Dropbox file.
All right, yeah.
I mean, Google Drive file.
Yes.
We have them all up there.
Oh, do you have the Google Drive?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I want to take I have
the full videos.
Oh, good. I want to take the rants that are just me just talking about stupid shit. I could take those and use them elsewhere.
Well, you got 55 minutes of that on this one.
Yes.
I'm not going to hit the button. I'm not going to do it to you this week.
I appreciate that.
You know.
I appreciate that a lot. All right. Well, I mean, I think we did it. We'll get better at promoting stuff. We could get into the whole branding. We could use the Tasty Nuggets as
it's just something we threw together real quick. The front screen on it. I showed it to you.
Well, I'm saying in general, just the brand of Tasty Nuggets and how we're gonna maybe strategize. We can talk about that on the show as well.
That's definitely something that we should be doing.
Yeah.
And developing our own podcast brand on the podcast.
Yes, that's what we're doing. We're evolving. We're evolving, and you're seeing it happen in quasi real time.
Yes,
with sick jump cuts and then little graphics popping up.
I hope you put something there.
Yeah, I hope so. Otherwise, I'm gonna look real stupid.
1 hour, 16 minutes mark is where you need to do that.
Oh man, perfect. 1 hour, 16 minutes. Right. I need to bring in. I bought some sticks. Cha-cha. I should have.
Slate. We need a slate.
Yeah, I have one somewhere. I bought it. I bought it for when we.
Well, it's good that it's somewhere. It's probably really useful there.
It's very useful. I think it's still in the box actually. Man, I can't believe we've been going for this long. It's incredible. All right. Well, anyway, Tasty Nuggets. Cue the music. Yeah, perfect.